Welcome everyone to yet another episode of Atomic Blackjack. Good morning, good evening, good whatever time you are watching this. As always, you know the drill. We are happy to see you here. You recall from last video, we are currently in Las Vegas. Had a bit of a rough start to day one, but as I promised, day 2 and 3, we definitely turn it around. So without further ado, let's get to it.
Alright, so I had a little bit of a late start. I wanted to get up about 3 a.m. Body was exhausted, couldn't fight it. So went back to sleep. About 6, 7 a.m. Got up, get my check. Got a water from Starbucks. Threw in some liquid IV, make sure I'm hydrated. I've been drinking a whole lot of water. And now, it's time to go play, baby.
Okay, so I've added this little mini series of clips right here because this is a perfect example of how card counters get caught. Right now, I currently have $450 out there with a 20 versus a dealer's ace. I take insurance for $225, and what do you know? Dealer has blackjack. Most people don't take insurance as it's quote-unquote a sucker's bet. When you know the count, it can be advantageous at times. I then drop my bet to a single hand of $75. Now, as you will see, I do end up doubling, which means my count did end up jumping up to a true 6 or higher, but unfortunately for me, the dealer pulls 21. No fear, right after that, I do raise my bet because of all those small cards that came out and go up to a single hand of $600. This time, however, blackjack. Right there is a perfect example. As you see, I did everything a card counter can do other than split tens to get recognized, as I took insurance and won. I lowered my bet and lost, and then raised my bet again and received a blackjack. That right there is a perfect example of how and why card counters get caught. But I did everything right, and as you can see, it played off and paid off to my advantage. Right here, as you can see, I keep my max bets out there, but unfortunately for me, this time the dealer has blackjack. Can't win them all. And speaking of things that only card counters do, here you can see I have a max bet of $550 out on a 8-bet game, which I split my tens 4 times versus the dealer 6. And what do you know? I win all 4 hands when the dealer busts, netting me a profit of $1,800. So right after we split our tens, we continue with our 2 hands of $550. On one hand, we get an 11, and on our second hand, we get a blackjack. That blackjack at 3-2 pays us a total of $825. Now with this 11, we end up doubling, and we get a 10. We're not quite out of the woods yet, as the dealer flips over a 2 to make 11. But luckily for us, they pull a 7 for 18, and we net an additional $1,100.
Yeah, so I understand how happy I am. Like, you have, was it, did I leave it at the water there so I can get up with? Gotta start off on it. Okay, so I just had a crazy experience. After my last session, I got a player's card, played rated, and I played rated because I lost about $5,000. I figured it was worth it to get the company. In the process of doing so, I somehow lost I think they gave it to me when I dropped the bill now, but I didn't realize it until I had walked halfway up the strip, which meant between where I was at in the strip, or where I went, it could have been in. I had to walk all the way back to my spot, and now I have my ID. So here's the crazy thing, it's important to remember, right? First and foremost, it's not necessarily the fact that I wouldn't be able to continue to play without my ID, or the fact that I wouldn't be able to cash out without my ID. It's not the fact that I still have, one more chips that I need to cash out, and I can't do it without ID. No. The biggest and worst factor is the fact that without ID, I cannot get on the plane again. And I don't know how I'll be able to get an ID if I'm not at home, and what I would do in the meantime to be able to get an ID. So clearly I know I gotta be a little more careful. Thank God I got my ID, everything's squared away, and now I'm on to the next spot. I can breathe, I can unclench, I can give it a rest.
So after dealing with all that, as you just seen, I took a much needed break before hopping back to the tables. Right now what you are seeing is a $1,050 payout, as I had a pair of sixes which I split and doubled one time with $350 out there. That led to one hand being paid out $700 and the other hand being paid out $350 when the dealer decided to bust. So as you may have just heard, the pit boss just told me going forward I can no longer double after I split. This is one of the rules they have on the table, and while it does affect my EV a little bit, seeing that I was still heads up and getting a pretty decent pin, I decided to continue and play on. Right after that, I go to one hand of 450. The footage is a little iffy, but I have a 14 versus the dealer's 4. I go ahead and take insurance. But unfortunately this time, the dealer does not have it and I do lose my $225. I hit, get a 7 for 21. And after the dealer draws a bunch of cards, I get paid out $450. After seeing the dealer pull all those small cards, I jumped to a single hand of $700. I thought about raising my bet, but did not. I do end up, unfortunately, losing when the dealer pulls a blackjack, so thankfully for me, I did not raise my bet. Again, I go out there with another hand of $700, except this time, I get the blackjack. A blackjack of this caliber pays $1,050, and as you just seen, the dealer did not know the correct math, and it was up to me to be able to catch the dealer's mistake, as these mistakes can very much cost you both in terms of EV and AV. Luckily I caught it and was able to get paid out correctly. After the dealer verified that I was paid out correctly, I then continued with the one hand of $700. I have a 9 versus the dealer's 10. I hit, and while you can't see it, I get an 8 for a total of 17. I stand, which was luckily just enough, as the dealer did end up having to take a hit and busted. This right here was another $700 added to the profit column. The count is still there, so of course the bet stays out there. I get a pair of 10s versus the dealer's 3. I do decide to split them, which is something that you do at a true count of 8 or higher. On this first hand, I get a 12, and on the second hand, I get a 16. Neither of these are great hands, but in these type of scenarios, you're praying that the dealer busts. And what do you know? The dealer does just that, netting me $1,400 in profit. The count is still up there, so I continue with that single hand of $700. I get a pair of 9s versus the dealer's 10. While the dealer does not have blackjack, the dealer does in fact win the hand with 2 10s for a 20. This unfortunately drops my count just a little bit, so I go to a single hand of 450. This time, however, I have a pair of 10s and I end up beating the dealer when they draw and bust out. As you can see, I don't even think about it, as I know the count has jumped up due to the remaining cards left to be dealt. So I go back up to my single hand of $700, and in this situation, I end up with a 9 versus the dealer's 9. I hit and get an 8 for a total of 17, and when the dealer flips over 19, I do lose that hand. Well, cards are still there, count is still there. Go to a single hand of $700 once more. I have a 20. And unfortunately, the dealer does push when they have a 20 of their own. All these face cards drops the count all the way back down, so I go to a single hand of 125. I get a pair of 7s versus the dealer's 10, and I hit and bust out. But for whatever reason, the shoe continues to keep going, so I follow with another hand of 125. I have an 18 versus the dealer's ace, which I decline insurance. And in this situation, the dealer has it, and I do lose another 125. While that hand does end the shoe, it does not end my session here, and after the dealer gives the cards a quick shuffle, we're right back at action. Now, as this new shoe starts, I go right back to minimum bets of $50. I get a 13 versus a 9. I hit for a 10 and bust out, and the bet is still $50. Now I get a 6 and a jack for 16 versus the dealer's 10. I do hit because I have a negative count. I lose, and again, just simply put out another hand of $50. Here I get an 8 versus a 2. I hit for 18. After the dealer does some pulling of their own, I do end up winning. On my next hand, I get a 15 versus the dealer's 10. I hit, I bust out once again. I don't know what's going on. This is very different from the first shoe, but these are only minimum bets and it's not the end of the world. I continue, get a 17, and the dealer pulls from their 7 too many, and I end up with a single hand win. I do decide to go ahead and raise my bets to my true 1, which is a single hand $75. I end up with a 6 versus a dealer's 10. I hit twice for a total of 19, and when the dealer has a 20, I lose. Luckily for me, however, the count does go up, and I decide to go to my true 2 bet, which is a single hand of 125. Here the dealer has a 12 versus my 14. The dealer pulls 2 cards, bust out, and I do net $125 in profit. The count doesn't change, so I continue out there with my bets. I have a 9 versus the dealer's 10. I hit and get an ace. When the dealer has a 6 and then pulls a 10 for too many, that is another 125 win. I raise my bets now to a total of 175. I get a 9 versus a dealer's ace. I quickly snap and take insurance. I do have to get the dealer to break down my change because I did not have any $5 chips on hand, and I wanted to make sure that things were paid out correctly. For whatever reason, the dealer did not understand what I wanted, so I just went ahead and had to overpay for insurance, which is not to my advantage, as the dealer does not have blackjack.